Aitareya Aranyaka Upanishad, translated by Max Muller. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Jothi, Tharavant. First Aranyaka, First Adhyaya, First Kanda. Now follows the Mahavrata ceremony. After having killed Vrita, Indra became great. When he became great, then there was the Mahavrata, the great work. This is why the Mahavrata ceremony is called Mahavrata. Some people say, let the priest make 2 recitations with the offering of the Ajna, ghee, on that day. But the right thing is 1. He who desires prosperity should use the hymn Pravo Devaya Gnaye. He who desires increase should use the hymn Viso Viso Atihitam. The people Visa indeed or increase, and therefore he, the sacrificer, becomes increased. But someday there is the word Atithim in that hymn, which means a guest or stranger asking for food. Let him not therefore take that hymn. Verily the Atithi, stranger, is able to go begging. No, he said, let him take that hymn. For he who follows the good road and obtains distinction, he is an Atithi, guest. They do not consider him who is not so worthy to be called an Atithi, guest. Therefore, let him by all means take that hymn. If he takes that hymn, let him place the second Trishch Anganma Vritrahantamam. We came near to the victorious first. For people worship the whole year, performing the Gavamanya sacrifice. Wishing for this day, the last but one, they do come near. The next following 3 Trishas begin with an Anustubh. Now Brahman is Gayatri, speech is Anustubh. He thus joins speech with Brahman. He who desires glory should use the hymn Abhodai Agni Samidha Jananam. He who desires offspring and cattle should use the hymn Hotha Jananishta Jetana. Second Kanda. He who desires proper food should use the hymn Agnim Naro Didihitbi. Verily, Agni, fire, is the eater of food. In the other recitations accompanying the offerings of Agya, where Agni is likewise mentioned, the worshippers come more slowly near to Agni, because the name of Agni does not stand at the beginning of the hymn. But here a worshipper obtains proper food at once. He strikes down evil at once. Through the words occurring in the second foot of the first verse, Hasta Jyoti Janayanta, they caused the birth of Agni by moving their arms. The hymn becomes endowed with the word birth. Verily, the sacrificer is born from this day of the sacrifice, and therefore the hymn is endowed with the word birth. There are 4 metrical feet in the Tristubh verses of the hymn. Verily, cattle have 4 feet, therefore they serve for the gaining of cattle. There are 3 metrical feet in the Viraj verses of this hymn. Verily, 3 are these threefold worlds, therefore they serve for the conquest of the worlds. These, the Tristubh and Viraj verses of the hymn, form 2 meters which form a support, Pratishta. Verily, man is supported by 2 feet, cattle by 4 feet. Therefore, this hymn places the sacrificer who stands on 2 feet among cattle which stand on 4. By saying them straight on, there are 25 verses in this hymn. Man also consists of 25. There are 10 fingers on his hands, 10 toes on his feet, 2 legs, 2 arms, and the trunk Atman, the 25th. He adorns that trunk, the 25th, by this hymn. And then this day of the sacrifice consists of 25, and the stoma hymn of that day consists of 25 verses. It becomes the same through the same. Therefore these two, the day and the hymn, are 25. These 25 verses, by repeating the first thrice and the last thrice, become 30 less 1. This is the Viraj verse, consisting of 30 syllables, 2 small by 1. Into the small heart the vital spirits are placed. Into the small stomach food is placed. Therefore this Viraj, small by 1, serves for the obtainment of those desires. He who knows this obtains those desires. The verses contained in the hymn Agnim Narodihidibi becomes the Brihati meter and the Viraj meter. They become the perfection which belongs to that day, the Mahavrata. Then they also become Anushtubh, for the offerings of Agnya, ghee, dwell in the Anushtubhs. Third Khanda. Some say, let him take a Gayatri hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, Gayatri is brightness and glory of countenance, and thus the sacrificer becomes bright and glorious. Others say, let him take a Ushni hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, the Ushni is life, and thus the sacrificer has a long life. Others say, let him take an Anushtubh hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, Anushtubh is valor, and it serves for obtaining valor. Others say, let him take a Brihati hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, Brihati is fortune, and thus the sacrificer becomes fortunate. Others say, let him take a Pankti hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, Pankti is food, and thus the sacrificer becomes rich in food. Others say, let him take a Tristubh hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, Tristubh is strength, and thus the sacrificer becomes strong. Others say, let him take a Gakati hymn for the Prayuga. Verily, cattle is Gakati like, and thus the sacrificer becomes rich in cattle. But we say, let him take a Gayatri hymn only. Verily, Gayatri is Brahman, and that day the Mahavrata is for the attainment of Brahman. Thus he obtains Brahman by means of Brahman. And it must be a Gayatri hymn by Madhu Khandas. For Madhu Khandas is called Madhu Khandas because he wishes, Khandati for honey, Madhu for the rishis. Now food verily is honey. All is honey. All desires are honey. And thus if he recites the hymn of Madhu Khandas, it serves for the attainment of all desires. He who knows this obtains all desires. This Gayatri Prayuga, according to the one-day Ekta ceremonial, is perfect in form. On that day, the Mahavrata, much is done now and then which has to be hidden and has to be atoned for by recitation of hymns. Atonement, Santi, is rest, the one-day sacrifice. Therefore, at the end of the year, on the last day but one of the sacrifice that lasts a whole year, the sacrificers rest on this atonement as their rest. He who knows this rests firm, and they also for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. Fourth Khanda. Vayu ayahi darstame soma aram krita. Approach, O Vayu conspicuous, these somas have been made ready. Because the word ready occurs in these verses, therefore is this day of the sacrifice ready and auspicious for the sacrificer and for the gods. Yes, this day is ready and auspicious to him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Indra Vayu ime sutta ayatam upanishkrutam. Indra and Vayu, these somas are prepared. Come hither towards what has been prepared. By nishkrita, prepared, he means what has been well prepared. Samaskrita. Indra and Vayu go to what has been prepared by him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Mitram huve putadaksham diyam gritakim sadanta. I call Mitra of holy strength, he and Varuna. They fulfill the prayer accompanied with clarified butter. Verily, speech is the prayer accompanied with clarified butter. Speech is given to him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Asvina yajvarir isha. O Ashvino, eat the sacrificial offerings. Verily, the sacrificial offerings are food, and this serves for the requirement of food. Aya yatam rudravartani. Come hither, ye rudravartini. The Ashvino go to the sacrifice of him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Indra yahi kitribano, Indra yahi diyeshita, Indra yahi tutujana. Come hither, Indra of bright splendor. Come hither, Indra, called by prayer. Come hither, Indra, quickly. Thus he recites, come hither, come hither. Indra comes to the sacrifice of him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Omasas jarshani drito visve devasagata. Visve devas, protectors, supporters of men, come hither. Verily, the Visve devas come to the call of him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Davamso dasuha sutam. Come, ye givers of the liberation of the giver. By dasuha he means dadusha, that is, to the liberation of everyone that gives. The gods fulfill his wish with whatever wish he recites this verse. The wish of him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. Pavakana Saraswati Yajnam Vastu Dihiya Vasu. May the holy Saraswati accept our sacrifice rich in prayer. Speech is meant by rich in prayer. Speech is given to him who knows this, or for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites. And when he says, may she accept our sacrifice, what he means is, may she carry off our sacrifice. If these verses are recited straight on, they are 21. Man also consists of 21. There are 10 fingers on his hands, 10 toes on his feet, and the trunk the 21st. He adorns that trunk the 21st by this hymn. By repeating the first and the last verses thrice, they become 25. The trunk is the 25th, and Prajapati is the 25th. There are 10 fingers on his hands, 10 toes on his feet, 2 legs, 2 arms, and the trunk the 25th. He adorns that trunk, the 25th, by this hymn. Now this day consists of 25, and the stoma hymn of that day consists of 25. It becomes the same through the same. Therefore, these two, the day and the hymn, are 25. 25. Second Adhyaya, first Kanda. The two Trikas. Atavaratam yatahotaye and idam vaso sutam mandha from the first Pratipad and the second Anukara of the Marutvathiya hymn, both as belonging to the one-day ceremonial, are perfect in form. On that day much is done now and then which has to be hidden and has to be atoned for. Atonement is rest, the one-day sacrifice. Therefore, at the end of the year, the sacrifices rest on this atonement as their rest. He who knows this rests firm, and they also for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. In the second verse of the Pragatha, Indra Nediya ed idhi prasutira sachibir yeta ukthina, there occurs the word ukthina, reciters of hymns. Verily, this day the Mahavrata is an Ukta hymn, and as endowed with an Ukta, the form of this day is perfect. In the first verse of another Pragatha, the word Vira, strong, occurs, and as endowed with the word Vira, strong, the form of this day is perfect. In the second verse of another Pragatha, the word Suviryam, strength, occurs, and as endowed with the word Suvirya, strength, the form of this day is perfect. In the first verse of another Pragatha, the word Uktayam, to be hymned, occurs. Verily, this day is an Ukta, and as endowed with an Ukta, the form of this day is perfect. In the Daiva verse Agni Netha, the word Viritra, killer of Viritra, occurs. The killing of Viritra is a form character of Indra. This day the Mahavrata belongs to Indra, and this is the perfect form of that day. In the Dhaya verse, Tvam Soma Kratubi Sukartur Bhu, the word Vrisha, powerful, occurs. Powerful is a form character of Indra. This day belongs to Indra, and this is the perfect form of that day. In the Dhaya verse, Pinvanti Apa, the word Vajinam, endowed with food, occurs. Endowed with food is a form character of Indra. This day belongs to Indra, and this is the perfect form of that day. In the same verse, the word Stanayantam, thundering, occurs. Endowed with thundering is a form character of Indra. This day belongs to Indra, and this is the perfect form of that day. In the Prajatha Prava Indraya Brihate, the word Brihat occurs. Verily, Brihat is Mahat, great, and as endowed with Mahat, great, the form of this day, Mahavrata, is perfect. In the Prajatha Brihad Indraya Gayata, the word Brihat occurs. Verily, Brihat is Mahat, great, and as endowed with Mahat, the form of this day is perfect. In the Pragatha, Naki Sudaso Ratham Pari Asana Riramad, the words Paryasa, he moved around, and Na Riramad, he did not enjoy, occur. And as endowed with the words Paryasta and Ranti, the form of this day is perfect. He recites all these Pragathas in order to obtain all the days of the sacrifice. All the uktas, all the parishtas, all the sastras, all the pragayugas, and all the savanas, libations. Second Kanda. He recites the hymn Asat su mi garit sabhi vega, and in it the word Satyavritam, the destroyer of truth. Verily, that day is truth, and as endowed with the word Satya, truth, the form of this day is perfect. That hymn is composed by Vasukra. Verily, Vasukra is Brahman, and that day is Brahman. Thus he obtains Brahman by means of Brahman. Here they say, why then is that Marutvatya hymn completed by the hymn of Vasukra? Surely because no other Rishi but Vasukra brought out a Marutvatya hymn, or divided it properly. Therefore, that Marutvatya hymn is completed by the hymn of Vasukra. That hymn, Asat Sumi, is not definitely addressed to any deity, and is therefore supposed to be addressed to Prajapati. Verily, Prajapati is infinite, and therefore the hymn serves to win Prajapati. Once in the hymn, he defines Indra, Indraya Sunvat. Therefore, it does not fall off from its form as connected with Indra. He recites that hymn, Piba Somam Abhiyam Ugra Tharda. In the verse, Urvam Gavyam Mahi Grinana Indra, the word Mahi, great, occurs. Endowed with the word Mahat, the form of this day is perfect. That hymn is composed by Bharadvaja, and Bharadvaja was he who knew most, who lived longest, and performed the greatest austerities among the rishis. And by this hymn he drove away evil. Therefore, if he recites the hymn of Bharadvaja, then after having driven away evil, he becomes learned, long-lived, and full of austerities. He recites the hymn Kaya Subha Sabayasa Sanila. In the verse Asasate Prati Harayanti Ukta, the word Ukta occurs. Verily, that day the Mahavrata is Ukta, hymn. Endowed with the word Ukta, the form of this day becomes perfect. That hymn is called Kaya Subhiya. Verily, that hymn which is called Kaya Subhiya is a mutual understanding, and it is lasting. By means of it, Indra, Agastya, and the Maruts came to a mutual understanding. Therefore, if he recites the Kaya Subhiya hymn, it serves for mutual understanding. The same hymn is also long life. Therefore, if the sacrificer is dear to the Hotri, let him recite the Kaya Subhiya hymn for him. He recites the hymn Marutvan Indra Varishabho Ranya. In it, the words Indra Varishabha, powerful, occur. Verily, powerful is the form of Indra. This day belongs to Indra, and this is the perfect form of that day. That hymn is composed by Viswamitra. Verily, Viswamitra was a friend, Mitra, of all Viswa. Everybody is the friend of him who knows this, and for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. The next hymn, Janishta Ugra Sahase Turaya forms the Nividhana, and according to the one-day Ekatha ceremonial is perfect in form. On that day much is done now and then which has to be hidden, and has to be atoned for by recitation of hymns. Atonement is rest, the one-day sacrifice. Therefore, at the end of the year, on the last day but one of the sacrifice that lasts a whole year, the sacrificers rest on this atonement as their rest. He who knows this rests firm, and they also for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. These he recited straight on, or 97 verses. The 90 or 3 viraj, each consisting of 30, and then the 7 verses which are over. Whatever is the praise of the 7 is the praise of 90 also. By repeating the first and last verses 3 times each, they become 101 verses. There are 5 fingers of 4 joints each, 2 pits in the elbow and the arm, the eye, the shoulder blade. This makes 25. The other 3 parts have likewise 25 each. That makes 100. On the trunk is the 101st. 100 is life, health, strength, brightness. The sacrificer as the 101st rests in life, health, strength and brightness. These verses become Trishtubh, for the noonday libation consists of Trishtubh verses. Third Kanda. They say, what is the meaning of Prinka, swing? Verily, he is the swing who blows the wind. He indeed goes forward, pra plus inkate, in these worlds, and that is why the swing is called Prinka. Some say that there should be 1 plank, because the wind blows in one way, and it should be like the wind. That is not to be regarded. Some say there should be 3 planks, because there are these threefold worlds, and it should be like them. That is not to be regarded. Let there be 2, for these 2 worlds, the earth and heaven, are seen as if most real, while the ether space between the 2 is the sky, antariksha. Therefore, let there be 2 planks. Let them be made of udumbra wood. Verily, the udumbra tree is sap and eatable food, and thus it serves to obtain sap and eatable food. Let them be elevated in the middle, between the earth and the cross beam. Food, if placed in the middle, delights man, and thus he places the sacrificer in the middle of eatable food. There are 2 kinds of rope, twisted towards the right and twisted towards the left. The right rope serve for some animals, the left ropes for others. If there are both kinds of rope, they serve for the attainment of both kinds of cattle. Let them be made of dharba, kusa grass, for among plants dharba is free from evil. Therefore, they should be made of dharba grass. Fourth Kanda. Some say, let the swing be 1 ell, arantni, above the ground, for by that measure, verily, the Swarga worlds are measured. That is not to be regarded. Others say, let it be 1 span, pradesa, for by that measure, verily, the vital airs were measured. that is not to be regarded. Let it be one fist, mushti, for by that measure verily all eatable food is made, and by that measure all eatable food is taken. Therefore let it be one fist above the ground. They say, let him mount the swing from east to west, like he who shines, for the sun mounts these worlds from east to west. That is not to be regarded. Others say, let him mount the swing sideways, for people mount a horse sideways, thinking that thus they will obtain all desires. That is not to be regarded. They say, let him mount the swing from behind, for people mount a ship from behind, and this swing is a ship in which to go to heaven. Therefore let him mount it from behind. Let him touch the swing with his chin. Kubuka. The parrot Suka thus mounts a tree, and he is of all birds the one who eats most food. Therefore let him touch it with his chin. Let him mount the swing with his arms. The hawk sweeps thus on birds and on trees, and he is of all birds the strongest. Therefore let him mount with his arms. Let him not withdraw one foot, the right or left, from the earth, for fear that he may lose his hold. The Hotri mounts the swing. The Udgatri, the seat made of Udumbra wood. The swing is masculine, the seat feminine, and they form a union. Thus he makes a union at the beginning of the Ukta in order to get offspring. He who knows this gets offspring and cattle. Next the swing is food, the seat fortune. Thus he mounts and obtains food and fortune. The Hotrakas, the Prasistri, Brahmana, Kamsin, Potri, Neshtri, Agnidra and Akavaka, together with the Brahman, sit down on cushions made of grass, reeds, leaves, etc. Plants and trees, after they have grown up, bear fruit. Thus, if the priests mount on that day all together on their seats, they mount on solid and fluid as their proper food. Therefore, this serves for the attainment of solid as proper food. Some say, let him descend after saying Vasat. That is not to be regarded. For verily that respect is not shown which is shown to one who does not see it. Others say, let him descend after he has taken the food in his hand. That is not to be regarded. For verily that respect is not shown which is shown to one after he has approached quite close. Let him descend after he has seen the food. For verily that is real respect which is shown to one when he sees it. Only after having actually seen the food that is brought to the sacrifice, let him descend from the swing. Let him descend turning towards the east, for in the east the seed of the gods springs up. Therefore let him rise turning towards the east, turning towards the east. Third Adhyaya, First Kanda. Let him begin this day with singing hymn. Thus they say, verily the sound hymn is Brahman. That day also is Brahman. He who knows this obtains Brahman even by Brahman. As he begins with the sound hymn, surely that masculine sound of hymn and the feminine rik verse make a couple. Thus he makes a couple at the beginning of the hymn in order to get offspring. He who knows this gets cattle and offspring. Or, as he begins with the sound him, surely like a wooden spade, so the sound him serves to dig up Brahman, the sap of the Veda. And as a man wishes to dig up any, even the hardest soil, with a spade, thus he digs up Brahman. He who knows this digs up, by means of the sound him, everything he may desire. If he begins with the sound him, that sound is the holding apart of divine and human speech. Therefore, he who begins after having uttered the sound him holds apart divine and human speech. Second Kanda. And here they ask, what is the beginning of this day? Let him say, mind and speech. All desires dwell in the one mind, the other yields all desires. All desires dwell in the mind, for with the mind he conceives all desires. All desires come to him who knows this. Speech yields all desires, for with speech he declares all his desires. Speech yields all desires to him who knows this. Here they say, let him not begin this day with a rik, a yajus, or a saman verse, divine speech, for it is said he should not start with a rik, a ajus, or a saman. Therefore, let him say these Vayagritis, sacred interjections, first. These interjections, Bhus, Bhuvas, Sava, or the three Vedas. Bhus, the Rig Veda; Bhuvas, the Yajur Veda; Sava, the Sama Veda. Therefore, by intercalating these, he does not begin simply with a Rik, Yajus, or Saman verse. He does not start with a Rik, Yajus, or Saman verse. Third Kanda. He begins with third. This, the first word of the first hymn, Thad id asa. Verily, this is food, and thus he obtains food. Prajapati indeed uttered this as the first word, consisting of one or two syllables, namely Tata and Tata, or Tat. And thus does a child, as soon as he begins to speak, utter the word consisting of one or two syllables, namely Tata and Tata, or Tat. With this very word consisting of Tat or Tata, he begins. This has been said by a Rishi. O Brihaspati, the first point of speech, for this is the first and highest point of speech, that which you have uttered, making it a name, for names are made by speech. That name which was the best and without a flaw, for this is the best and without a flaw. That which was hidden by their love is made manifest, for this was hidden in the body, namely those deities which enter the body, Agni as voice entering the mouth, etc. And that was manifest among the gods in heaven. This is what was intended by the verse. Fourth Kanda. He begins with, that indeed was the oldest in the worlds, for that the Brahman is verily the oldest in the worlds. Whence was born the Force One, endowed with brilliant force? For from it was born the Fierce One, who is endowed with brilliant force. When born, he at once destroys the enemies, for he at once, when born, struck down the evil one. He after whom all friends rejoice, verily all friends are the creatures, and they rejoice after him, saying, He has risen, he has risen. Growing by strength, the Almighty, for he, the Sun, does grow by strength, the Almighty. He as enemy causes fear to the slave, for everything is afraid of him. Taking the breathing and the not breathing, this means living and the lifeless. Whatever has been offered at feasts came to thee. This means everything is in thy power. All turn their thoughts also on thee. This means all these things, all minds, all thoughts also turn to thee. When these two become three protectors, that is, when these two united beget offspring, he who knows this gets offspring and cattle. Join what is sweeter than sweet, offspring, with the sweet, the parents. For the couple, father and mother, is sweet, the offspring is sweet, and he thus joins the offspring with the couple. And this, the son when married, being very sweet, conquered through the sweet. That is, the couple is sweet, the offspring is sweet, and thus through the couple he conquers offspring. This is declared by a rishi. Because he, Prajapati, raised his body, the hymn Tad id asa, or the Veda in general, in the body of the sacrificer. Therefore, that Nishkavelya hymn is praised. That is, this body consisting of the Veda in that corporal form of the sacrificer. Then let this body indeed be the medicine of that body. That is, this body consisting of the Veda of that corporal form of the sacrificer. Of this, the 8 syllables are Gayatri, the 11 syllables are Trishtubh, and 12 syllables are Gagati. The 10 syllables are Viraj. The Viraj, consisting of 10 syllables, rests in these 3 meters. The word Purusha, consisting of 3 syllables, that indeed goes into the Viraj. Verily, these are all meters, these Gayatri, Trishtubh, Gagati, having the Viraj as the 4th. In this manner, this day is complete in all meters to him who knows this. 5th Kanda. He extends these verses by interpolating the sound. Verily, the sound is Purusha, man. Therefore, every man, when he speaks, sounds loud, as it were. At the end of each foot of the first verse of the hymn, Tad id asa, he inserts 1 foot of the second verse of hymn, Nadam va odadinam, etc. Thus, the verse is to be recited as follows: Tad id asa bhuvaneshu jayeshtham punadam va odadinam yado jajna ugras tvesha nirimno runadam yoyuvadinam sadhyo jajano nirinati Satrun patim vo agneyanam Anuyam visve madani umah Sho dedi yunam ishudiyasi. In Nadam va Odadinam, Odathi are the waters in heaven, for they water all this, and they are the waters in the mouth, for they water all good food. In Nadam Yoyovadinam, Yoyuvadi are the waters in the sky, for they seem to inundate, and they are the waters of perspiration, for they seem to run continually. In Patim vo Agniyanam, Agnaya are the waters which spring from the smoke of fire, and they are the waters which spring from the organ. In Denunam Ishduyasi, the Denu cows are the waters, for they delight all this. The Ishduyasi means thou art food. He extends the Tristub and an Anustub. Tristub is the man, Anustub his wife, and they make a couple. Therefore does a man, after having found a wife, consider himself a more perfect man. These verses, by repeating the first 3 times, become 25. The trunk is the 25th, and Prajapati is the 25th. There are 10 fingers on his hands, 10 toes on his feet, 2 legs, 2 arms, and the trunk the 25th. He adorns that trunk as the 25th. Now this day consists of 25, and the stoma hymn of that day consists of 25. It becomes the same through the same. Therefore the two, the day and the hymn, are 25. 6th Kanda. This is an exact repetition of the 3rd Kanda. According to the commentator, the 3rd Kanda was intended for the glory of the first word thad, while the 6th is intended for the glory of the whole hymn. 7th Kanda. He begins with the hymn Tad id asa bhuvaneshu jayeshtham. Verily Jayeshtha, the oldest, is Mahat, great. Endowed with Mahat, the form of this day is perfect. Then follows the hymn Tam Suthe Kritum Maghavan Mahitva, with the auspicious word Mahitva. Then follows the hymn Bhuya id Vavaridhe Viryaya, with the auspicious word Virya. Then follows the hymn Nirnam Uttva Nirithamam Gobhir Ukthaya, with the auspicious word Uktha. He extends the first 2 padas, which are too small, by 1 syllable. Into the small heart the vital spirits are placed, into the small stomach food is placed. It serves for the attainment of these desires. He who knows this obtains these desires. The 2 feet, each consisting of 10 syllables, serve for the gaining of both kinds of food, of what has feet, animal food, and what has no feet, vegetable food. They come to the 18 syllables each. Of those which are 10, 9 are the pranas, openings of the body. The 10th is the vital self. This is the perfection of the vital self. 8 syllables remain in each. He who knows them obtains whatever he desires. 8th Kanda. He extends these verses by interpolating the sound. Verily, breath prana is sound. Therefore, every breath, when it sounds loud as it were. The verse Nadam va oditnam, etc. is by its syllables an Ushni, by its feet an Anustub. Ushni is life, Anustub speech. He thus places life and speech in him, the sacrificer. By repeating the first verse 3 times, they become 25. The trunk is the 25th, and Prajapati is the 25th. There are 10 fingers on his hands, 10 toes on his feet, 2 legs, 2 arms, and the trunk the 25th. He adorns that trunk as the 25th. Now this day consists of 25, and the stoma hymn of that day consists of 25. It becomes the same through the same. Therefore the two, the day and the hymn, are 25. This is the 25th with regard to the body. Next, with regard to the deities, the eye, the ear, the mind, speech and breath. These 5 deities' powers have entered into that person, Purusha, and that person entered into the 5 deities. He is wholly pervaded there, with his limbs to the very hairs and nails. Therefore all beings, to the very insects, are born as pervaded by the deities or senses. This has been declared by a Rishi. 1,000-fold are these 15 hymns, for 5 arise from 10. As large as heaven and earth, so large is it. Verily the self, Jivatman, is as large as heaven and earth. 1,000-fold are the 1,000 powers. By saying this, the poet pleases the hymns, the senses, and magnifies them. As far as Brahman reaches, so far reaches speech. Wherever there is Brahman, there is a word, and wherever there is a word, there is Brahman. This was intended. The first of the hymns among all those hymns has 9 verses. Verily, there are 9 puranas openings, and it serves for their benefit. Then follows a hymn of 6 verses. Verily, the seasons are 6, and it serves to obtain them. Then follows a hymn of 5 verses. Verily, the pankti consists of 5 feet. Verily, pankti is food, and it serves for the gaining of proper food. Then follows a trisht. There are these threefold words, and it serves to conquer them. These verses become brihatis, that meter being immortal, leading to the world of the Devas. That body of verses is the trunk of the bird represented by the whole Shastra, and thus it is. He who knows this comes by this way, by making the verses the trunk of the bird, near to the immortal self. To the immortal self. 4th Adhyaya, 1st Kanda. Next comes the Sudhadohas verse. Sudhadohas is breath, and thereby he joins all joints with breath. Next follow the neck verses. They recite them as Ushni, according to their meter. Next comes again the Sudhadohas verse. Sudhadohas is breath, and thereby he joins all joints with breath. Next follows the head, that is in Gayatri verses. The Gayatri is the beginning of all meters, the head the first of all members. It is in Arkavat verses. Arka is Agni. They are 9 verses. The head consists of 9 pieces. He recites the 10th verse, and that is the skin and the hairs on the head. It serves for reciting 1 verse more than the 9 verses contained in the stoma. These form the Trivritti stoma and the Gayatri meter, and whatever there exists, all this is produced after the production of this stoma and this meter. Therefore, the recitation of these head hymns serves for production. He who knows this gets offspring and cattle. Next comes the Sudha-doha's verse. Verily, the Sudha-doha's is breath, and thereby he joins all joints with breath. Next follow the vertebrae of the bird. These verses are Viraj, shining. Therefore man says to man, Thou shinest above us, or to a stiff and proud man, Thou carriest thy neck stiff. Or because the vertebrae of the neck run close together, they are taken to be the best food. For Viraj is food, and food is strength. Next comes the Sudha-doha's verse. Sudha-doha's is breath, and thereby he joins all joints with breath. Second Kanda. Next follows the right wing. It is this world, the earth, it is this Agni, it is speech, it is Ratantara, it is Vashistha, it is 100. These are the 6 powers of the right wing. The Sampatha hymn serves indeed for obtaining desires and for firmness. The Pankhi verse serves for proper food. Next comes the Sudha-doha's verse. Sudha-doha's is breath, thereby he joins all joints with breath. Next follows the left wing. It is that world, heaven, it is that sun, it is mind, it is the Brahat, it is Bharadvaja, it is 100. These are the 6 powers of the left wing. The Sampatha hymn serves indeed for obtaining desires and for firmness. The Pankhi verse serves for proper food. These two, the right and the left wings, are deficient and excessive. The Brihat, the left wing, is man. The Ratantara, the right wing, is woman. The excess belongs to the man, the deficiency to the woman. Therefore, they are deficient and excessive. Now the left wing of a bird is verily by 1 feather better. Therefore, the left wing is larger by 1 verse. Next comes the Sudha-doha's verse. Sudha-doha's is breath, and thereby he joins all joints with breath. Next follows the tail. They are 21 Divipada verses. For there are 21 backward feathers in a bird. Then the Ekavimsa is the supporter of all stomas, and the tail the support of all birds. He recites a 22nd verse. This is made the form of 2 supports. Therefore all birds support themselves on their tail, and having supported themselves on their tail, they fly up, for the tail is a support. He, the bird and the hymn, is supported by 2 decades, which are Viraj. The man, the sacrificer, is supported by the 2 Divipadas, the 21st and 22nd. That which forms the bird serves for the attainment of all desires. That which forms the man serves for his happiness, glory, proper food, and honor. Next comes a Sudha-doha's verse, then a Dhaya, then a Sudha-doha's verse. The Sudha-doha's is a man, the Dhaya a woman. Therefore, he recites the Dhaya as embraced on both sides by the Sudha-doha's. Therefore does the seed of both, when it is effused, obtain oneness, and this with regard to the woman only. Hence birth takes place in and from the woman. Therefore he recites that Dhaya in that place. Third Kanda. He recites the 80 Trishtish of Gayatris. Verily, the 80 Gayatri Tristis are this world, earth. Whatever there is in this world of glory, greatness, wives, food, and honor, may I obtain it, may I win it, may it be mine. Next comes the Sudadoha's verse. Sudadohas verily is breath. He joins this world with breath. He recites the 80 Tristis of Brihatis. Verily, the 80 Brihati Tristis are the world of the sky. Whatever there is in the world of the sky, of glory, greatness, wives, food, and honor, may I obtain it, may I win it, may it be mine. Next comes the Sudadoha's verse. Sudadohas verily is breath. He joins the world of the sky with breath. He recites the 80 Tristis of Ushni. Verily, the 80 Ushni Tristis are that world, the heaven. Whatever there is in that world of glory, greatness, wives, food, and honor, also the divine being of the Devas, Brahman, may I obtain it, may I win it, may it be mine. Next comes the Sudadoha's verse. Sudadohas verily is the breath. He joins that world with breath, with breath. 5th Adhyaya, 1st Canto. He recites the Vasa hymn, wishing may everything be in my power. Its verses are 21. For 21 are the parts, the lungs, spleen, etc. in the belly. Then the Ekavimsa is verily the support of all stomas, and the belly the support of all food. They consist of different meters. Verily, the intestines are confused, some small, some large. He recites them with the pranava according to the meter and according to rule. Verily, the intestines are according to rule, as it were, some shorter, some longer. Next comes the Sudadoha's verse. Sudadohas verily is breath. He joins the joints with breath. After having recited that verse 12 times, he leaves it off there. These pranas are verily 12-fold, 7 in the head, 2 on the breast, 3 below. In these 12 places the pranas are contained. There they are perfect. Therefore he leaves it off there. The hymn Indragni Yuvam Suna forms the 2 thighs of the bird, belonging to Indra and Agni, the 2 supporters with broad bones. These verses consist of 6 feet, so that they may stand firm. Man stands firm on 2 feet, animals on 4. He thus places man, the sacrificer, standing on 2 feet among 4-footed cattle. The second verse has 7 feet, and he makes it into a Gayatri and Anustubh. Gayatri is Brahman, Anustubh is speech, and he thus puts together speech with Brahman. He recites a Tristubh at the end. Tristubh is strength, and thus does he come round animals by strength. Therefore animals come near where there is strength of command, etc. They come to be roused and to rise up. They obey the commands of a strong shepherd. 2nd Kanda. When he recites the Nishkevalya hymn addressed to Indra, Pravo Mahe, he inserts a nivid between the 4th and 5th verses. Thus he clearly places strength in himself, in the Shastra, in the bird, in himself. They are Tristubhs and Gagatis. There they say, why does he insert a nivid among mixed Tristubs and Gagatis. But surely one meter would never support the nivid of this day, nor fill it. Therefore he inserts the nivid among mixed Tristubs and Gagatis. Let him know that this day has three nivids. The Vasa hymn is the nivid, the Valakilyas are a nivid, and the nivid itself is a nivid. Thus let him know that day as having three nivids. Then follow the hymns of Vane Na Va and Yogata Iva. In the fourth verse of the former hymn occurs the words Anne Samsaya Yad Asan Manisha, and they serve for the winning of proper food. Then comes an insertion. As many Tristub and Gagati verses taken from the 10 mandalas and addressed to Indra, as they insert between the two above mentioned hymns, after changing them into Brihatis, so many years do they live beyond the usual age of 100 years. By this insertion age is obtained. After that he recites the Saganiya hymn, wishing that cattle may always come to his offspring. Then he recites the Tarksha hymn. Tarksha is verily welfare, and the hymn leads to welfare. Thus by reciting the hymn he fares well. Then he recites the Ekapada, Indro Visvam Virajati, wishing may I be everything at once, and may I thus finish the whole work of meters. In reciting the hymn Indram Visva Abhivridhan, he intertwines the first 7 verses by intertwining their feet. There are 7 pranas openings in the head, and thus he places 7 pranas in the head. The 8th verse, half verse, he does not intertwine. The 8th is speech, and he thinks, may my speech never be intertwined with the other pranas. Speech, therefore, though dwelling in the same abode as the other pranas, is not intertwined with them. He recites the Viraj verses. Verily, Viraj verses are food, and they thus serve for the gaining of food. He ends with a hymn of Vasishta, wishing may I be Vasishta. But let him end with the 5th verse. Isha Stomo Maha Ugraya Vahe, which, possessing the word Mahat, is auspicious. In the 2nd foot of the 5th verse, the word Dri occurs. Verily, Dhu, the place where the horse is fastened to the car, is the end of the car. This day also is the end of the sacrifice, which lasts a whole year. Thus, the verse is fit for the day. In the 3rd foot, Arka is auspicious. The last foot is, make our glory high as heaven over heaven. Thus, wherever Brahmanic speech is uttered, there his glory will be, when he who knows this finishes with that verse. Therefore, let a man who knows this finish the Nishkevalya with that verse. 3rd Khanda, Tat Savitur Virinimahe and Adya No Deva Savitar are the beginning Pratipad and the next step Anukkara of the Visva Deva hymn, taken from the Ekaha ceremonial and therefore proper. On that day much is done now and then which is to be hidden and has to be atoned for. Atonement is rest, the one-day sacrifice. Therefore, at the end of the year, the sacrificers rest on this atonement as their rest. He who knows this rests firm, and they also for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. Then follows the hymn addressed to Savitri, tad devasya savitur varyam mahat. Verily, Mahat, great, in this foot is the end. This day too is the end. Thus the verse is fit for the day. The hymn Katara Purva Katara Parayo, addressed to Daiva Prithvi, is one in which many verses have the same ending. Verily, this day also the Mahavrata is one in which many recite the same reward. Thus it is fit for the day. The hymn Anasavo Gato Anubishur Ukthaya is addressed to the Ribhus. In the first verse, the word three, kakra, occurs, and Trivat is verily the end. This day also is the end of the sacrifice. Thus the verse is fit for the day. The hymn Asya Vamasya Palitasya Hothu, addressed to the Visvadevas, is multiform. This day also is multiform. Thus the verse is fit for the day. He recites the end of it, beginning with Gaurir Mimaya. The hymn Ano Badra Kartavoyantu Vishvatha, addressed to the Vishvadevas, forms the Nividhana taken from the Ekatha ceremonial, and therefore proper. On that day much is done now and then which has to be hidden and has to be atoned for. Atonement is rest, the one-day sacrifice. Therefore, at the end of the year, the sacrificers rest on this atonement as their rest. He who knows this rests firm, and they also for whom a Hotri priest who knows this recites this hymn. The hymn Vishvanarayana Dishanam Rita Vridhe forms the beginning of the Agni Maruta. Dishana thought is verily the end. This day also is the end. Thus it is fit for the day. The hymn Paragyavo Maruto Bragadrishtaya, addressed to the Maruts, is one in which many verses have the same ending. Verily, this day also is one in which many receive the same reward. Thus it is fit for the day. He recites the verse Gata Vedase Sunavama Somam, addressed to Gata Vedas, before the next following hymn. That verse addressed to Gata Vedas is verily welfare and leads to welfare. Thus by reciting it he fares well. The hymn Imam Stomam Arhate Gata Vedase, addressed to the Gata Vedas, is one in which many verses have the same ending. Verily, this day also the Mahavrata is one in which many receive the same reward. Thus it is fit for the day. It is fit for the day. End of First Aranyaka.